Hey, what's up guys, TheDevildogGamer here, and welcome to my first episode of Fucked Up Fridays. Now, if you didn't see my Facebook post, what I'm gonna do with Fucked Up Fridays is this is gonna be a separate story time, where I tell fucked up or retarded stories from my life outside of the Marines, either before the Marines or after it, where either something really fucked up happened to me or I did something really fucked up. Now, I wasn't always a fucking really nice guy. Back in high school, I was a pretty big dick. I'll be the first one to admit it. No big deal, but you know, some of these stories I got are pretty hilarious, I gotta say. And I got a pretty long battlefield clip, just in case, 'cause I don't know how long this story's gonna take. So we'll use as much of this clip as possible while I tell my story. So this one involves a swimming pool and Kool Aid. Now, I gotta kind of tell the backstory for it all to make sense. Back in 2004, I lived in Maryland. Finished my junior year of high school there. Had a bunch of friends, you know, lived there for like, I think like 8-9 years. And knew everybody at the school. You know, was excited I was gonna be a senior the next year. I was like, fuck yeah, gonna graduate, join the Marines, you know, with a bunch of buddies that were going to school with me and shit. And that summer, my dad ended up selling his company, and they kind of sat me and my sister down, and they're like, hey, we're gonna move to Florida. And I'm like, sweet, alright, let's fucking, you know, after my senior year, I'll fucking be chilling on the beach, go to college down there and whatnot. They're like, no, we're gonna move this summer. And I was like, what the fuck? Now I gotta go to my senior year of high school with a bunch of people I don't fucking know? Like, this is not fucking awesome. I was quite pissed about that. But they made it up and said they'd buy me a jet ski and all kinds of shit. But whatever. So fucking that summer we moved down to Florida, got a house like a mile away from the beach. Fucking you know, I was kind of a little pissed off that we had moved and shit, and wasn't quite happy about it. You know, starting senior year of high school with a bunch of people you don't know who they know everybody. It's not a cool thing. Nobody likes that. I think that's where my asshole tendencies came out, because I was like, fuck these kids, fuck these people, blah blah blah. You know, they suck. And so the area I moved to, they had just built a new high school there, a big ass high school. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but the problem was it would just opened that summer, so they didn't have a senior class. So it's pretty much, you know, freshman, sophomore, junior, and the junior was going to be the senior class next year. So even though I lived right next to the high school, that's not the high school I was going to. I had to go drive freaking 10 miles down the road and go to another high school, which I was not happy about. So I lived in an area with a high school and had to go to the high school 10 miles away because they didn't have a senior class, which I was really pissed about because they didn't have a school bus, so I had to fucking drive there, waste my fucking gas. Pretty pissed off about it. So I started going to this high school, and from day one I hated it. I hated every single fucking person in the high school. They're all a bunch of rich, snobby bastards, bunch of chicks driving Lexuses and Mercedes and shit, and they're fucking, you know, rich-ass mommy and daddies are fucking buying them all kinds of shit. Guys driving Porsches and fucking, you know, all kinds of stuff. I was like, fuck this school, fuck these fucking rich bastards. They can all go below me. So, didn't like the school. Didn't socialize with anybody from that school. I went to class, fucking, I had, you know, I pretty much only needed a few credits to graduate. So I pretty much took my bare minimum credits and then took the rest of the day off. They had off-campus lunch, so you could leave, you know, you could drive off campus if you're a senior to go to lunch. And pretty much after that I'd scheduled where I could go work. So I pretty much would go to lunch, spend like half the day there, go to lunch, fucking, and then go to work. And, you know, the rest of the night I'd go party with a bunch of people who went to the other high school. And at this time I'd started working at Winn-Dixie. If you don't know what Winn-Dixie is, it's like a fucking grocery store. Hated it. I hated every second of it. It was stupid. And they ended up promoting me to like a front-end manager, which was kind of like the manager of all the cashiers and shit. And I was like 16, 17 at this time. So I had like access to the office cameras, all the money and stuff, and I'm like, you know, just chilling. I didn't really do much other than when a cashier had a problem, I came out there and fixed it. And that was about it. So, oh, let me get to this part. The high school I went to, I don't want to name high school names and stuff. It's just, you know, for certain reasons we'll get to in a little while. But they had a outdoor swimming pool, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it was right there. I usually parked right there in front of it in the parking lot, and you know, cameras all over the place, and it was right next to the sheriff's office in the county jail. And so, okay, describe that. That's the important part. I need to describe that. So, when I worked at Winn-Dixie, it was in the area of the high school that I was supposed to go to, but didn't have a senior class. So, the people who worked there and everything, I don't know why, I just RPG'd that tank like a fucking noob. But, everybody I worked with went to that high school, and I became friends with all the people at the high school. Like, I knew almost everybody. We'd all go to huge-ass parties out on the beach, like with fucking kegs and everything, and party. So I knew all them, and, you know, I didn't really know anybody at the high school I went to. And I was like, you know, fuck those people, I don't give a shit. So at this time, I'd started dating this chick, dumped her, dated her best friend, dumped her, and then started dating her cousin. So there was this little group I was intertwined with, where we were all friends, or I had dated them and shit. And around this time, it was the time when they were, the schools were doing their, like, you know, whatever, homecoming shit, where they were fucking, you know, doing pranks against each other or whatnot. Like, I guess the high school I was supposed to go to near my house, the high school I went to, decided that it was going to be cool to go to their freaking football field, do donuts and stuff, and fuck up their football field, and all kinds of shit like that, because they had a pretty big-ass fucking track and football field. It was pretty nice, like stadium seating and shit. And they just drove right in there and said, fuck this shit, you know, doing donuts and all kinds of shit, fucking their crap up. So, we were at this party, and pretty much everyone's talking about, like, oh, how are we gonna get back at them, how are we gonna get back at them? And, like, my drunk ass is like, let's go fuck up their pool. And everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea, how are we gonna do it, how are we gonna do it? And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said anything. And I was like, well, I know how we can do it, but I don't want a lot of people knowing about it. So, the next day I'd fucking talked to one of the chicks that I dated who was in that little group, and I was like, hey, I know how we can go fuck up, you know, go get them back. I said, let's go fucking dump Kool Aid in their pool. And she's like, oh my god, that's an amazing idea, that's gonna be so awesome. So she worked at Winn-Dixie with me, and she's like, we'll just get it from there with the discount stuff. And like, she's like, how much do you think we're gonna need? And I'm like, as much as we can afford, I guess. So she passed it on to her two friends, or, you know, her friend, which is one of the ones I dated, and then her cousin, which is the other one I was dating. And we had all picked the day where we were going to do it. So the day came around, and guess what? We all kind of chickened out, or I don't know, we kind of forgot about it or whatnot. So like a week later, I was at work and talked to her, and I was like, let's go do this. I was like, I want to do this. I'm fucking bored. Shit. She's like, all right, I'll call them, and we'll just like get shit. We'll get all the Kool Aid after we're done working and stuff. So I talked to my manager, who was really cool. He was like 20 something. He was a fucking cool dude. And I told him about it. He's like, all right. He's like, I could turn off all the security cameras and bring you guys up after work where nobody can see it and shit. And I'm like, all right. So we figured it out. We'll just get as much as we can afford to get Kool Aid after work. So we all met up, locked all the doors, went and grabbed as much red Kool Aid as we possibly could. And it pretty much came up to a little over $300 worth of red Kool Aid, all purchased all together. So we fucking loaded it up in the back of my trunk, and then we were supposed to go to this party. And we're like, we'll do it afterwards when it gets darker after the party. So, fucking helicopters, I hate him. Look at this asshole. Dick. But, so we all met up. I had all the Kool Aid in the back of my car, and we went to this fucking party. And, of course, I got plastered. And so did all the chicks. Just completely fucking drunk. Everybody was just drunk as hell. So, halfway through the party, you know, everybody's plastered, puking. We're like, let's go fucking do this. Let's go fuck up their pool and shit. So, we all hop in the car. They're all fucked up and drunk and shit. And, you know, being stupid, and I'm trying to keep my head on straight so I can drive and fucking make sure I don't fucking drown in the pool while trying to dump Kool Aid in there and shit. So fucking, we're driving, we get there, and I remembered I parked in the area where I had parked for school, and I knew there was a camera on the opposite side of the pool. So I pretty much pulled in, backed up, because in Florida you don't have to have a front license plate. backed up to the pool because I knew there wasn't a camera behind me, so nobody could see my license plate. And pop my trunk. We all get out. The girls are all kind of drunk. I'm taking the bags of Kool Aid, throwing them over the fence, which of course it was maybe 10, 12 foot fence, but it didn't have barbed wire on the top. So I'm throwing it all over there, and I start climbing over. And fucking these girls are trying to get over this fence, and they're not doing good. I remember I had already gone down the other side when they were just putting their first foot on there, and they're like, okay, fucking Spider-Man, fuck you, and shit. So I started opening the bags, and these girls are kind of sitting on the fence like, help, 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 help. The one chick falls, and she's like on the ground and holding her foot and shit, and I'm like, oh my god, this sucks. Well, one of the other girls, the friend of one of my ex-girlfriends, the one that I dated, she pulls out this fucking inflatable tube and some spray paint and starts blowing it up. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm gonna leave something in the pool for him. So she's blowing up this inflatable tube and fucking writes on there, you know, high school sucks, fuck you, eat a dick, kind of stuff like that with spray paint. I'm like, wow, this is fucking getting out of hand. So I'm over there, finally get all my freaking Kool Aid out. I take the first 2 bottles, and it's all red Kool Aid, and I dump them in the pool, and all you can see is this big dark cloud starting. I'm like, oh shit, this is about to get fucking crazy. So I start dumping more and more, and the cloud just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm dumping more and more, throwing them back in the bags, and there's just Kool Aid everywhere. I mean, it's just like this big dark black cloud. Like, it didn't look red, it looked black, and it was just everywhere. It was just spreading and spreading. So it took me about like 20 minutes to get all the freaking $300 worth of Kool Aid dumped in there. You know, put them back in the bags, threw them back over the fence to my car. Only one of the chicks made it over the fence with me, and she was helping me clean up. And she threw over the inflatable tube for her to throw in there. So she throws the inflatable tube in there. Next thing I know, I see the other chick hobbling around with the can of spray painting all over the walls and shit. Like, fuck you, eat a dick. Spray painted a giant penis on the fucking parking lot, asphalt. I'm like, oh my god, this is not gonna be cool. It's like, this is getting out of hand. So, get over the fence, we all get back over the fence, start loading up my car, and I'm looking at the chick who was hobbling around, and, you know, who was spray painting, and she's like bleeding everywhere, and there's just like a blood trail behind her. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with you? And she's like, I don't know, my foot hurts really bad. And I look, and she had like ripped, she was wearing sandals when she tried jumping over this fence, and she had ripped her fucking big toenail off, like the toenail, just completely gone, and there's just blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my god. So I took my shirt off and wrapped her foot up with it, because I was wearing it was a fucked up shirt anyways. Wrapped her foot up in it, and I told them all to get in the car and shit. So we get in the car, we start driving away. They're all laughing their ass off, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not going to be cool tomorrow, because we did this on a Sunday, and Monday was the next day of school. And I went to this school, and I was like, so I'm pretty much parked right where I was going to park Monday when, came to school. And so, get everybody back home, I go to sleep. I'm like, fuck, man, this is going to be crazy tomorrow. I was like, I hope nobody finds out it was me. Before we get into what happened, I kind of was a scary dude back in high school. Like, people didn't really want to fuck with me, or, you know, create problems with me, because I was always one of those dudes, like, I'll fucking grab a baseball bat and just, like, kick in your door and beat your mom with it and shit, if you fuck with me. I was a fucking asshole. So, I wasn't too worried about if anybody found out or interrogated somebody about it. They weren't going to give up my name. I wasn't worried about it. Because if they did, even though I was going to go to jail, somebody else would kick their ass for me. So I wasn't worried. So, Monday I get up for school, I'm like, this is going to suck, kind of nervous about it. Go and park in my spot, and I'm sitting there looking, and it pretty much pulled directly up to the pool, and I'm looking out my windshield, and there's nobody at the pool. And I'm like, man, maybe nobody found out, maybe it just like went away or something. But I see all the freaking spray paint everywhere, and there's people looking around laughing at it and shit, and, you know, getting pissed and saying all kinds of shit. I'm like, whatever, I didn't do that. I was just worried about the Kool Aid, you know, the swimming pool might fuck it up. And go to class and everything. Halfway through class, I get a text saying like, oh, I don't want to use names. It's hard for me to, like, you know, differentiate for you guys that each chick, but I can't use names, but I don't want to use names. They're like, oh, blah 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 is going around showing pictures at school of the night that she took. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know she had a camera. Like, what the fuck's going on? And they're like, I don't know. They're like, oh, they're calling her to the office right now over the intercom. I'm like, oh, fuck, this isn't cool. So, I didn't hear anything for the rest of the day. I go home. Well, I go to work and then go home. And then my girlfriend at the time, who was the cousin of one of those chicks who went with us, she was like, oh, you know, hey, I haven't heard from anybody, but they called her to the office and I didn't see her the rest of the day. And I can't get a hold of her to see what happened. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So I was like, well, just keep an ear out. I was like, I tried calling her, didn't get a hold of her. Oh, man, fuck, indigestion. And I'm like, oh, that would have been a perfect headshot if the tank wasn't there. And didn't get a hold of her, and I'm like, fuck, man. I was like, we're probably screwed on this one. So I go back to school the next day, and talking to a few people in class, and one of the guys I was talking with was on a swim team, and he's like, yeah, he's like, we can't practice today. The pool's all fucked up. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know, somebody like dumped a bunch of Kool Aid or dye in it, and the whole thing's red, and they said it's gonna cost like $5,000 to fix. And they don't know what they're gonna do yet. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, that's some fucked up stuff, man. You know, fucking bullshitting them and shit. So, a little later after that, I remember getting a text message saying they called me into the office, asking me, showing me pictures of the night, asking who everybody is, what we did, where we get the Kool Aid from, who was driving us, all kinds of stuff. They know everything. They got pictures of the night and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, wow, that's fucking gay. So I call the chick who originally got called in there. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, how the fuck did they get pictures? I was like, did you have a camera? She's like, yeah, but they didn't get my camera. I'm like, apparently they have pictures of all of us doing this at the same time. She's like, I don't know where it came from. I was like, does it look like security camera footage? She's like, no, it looks like a camera. I'm like, who the fuck had the camera? I was like, what the fuck? So I started getting a little nervous. And later in the day, my girlfriend at the time called me, and she was like, oh, she's like, they called me in too. They know who all of us are except for you, and they keep asking us who you are, and we keep saying, oh, we don't know and stuff, and they can't really do anything. But apparently it's like they're gonna freaking try to take us to court to fix the damages for the pool and stuff and the spray paint. And like, apparently we had really fucked up the pool like bad. Like, the filters didn't work or some shit, and they couldn't use it for the swim team or whatnot, which I didn't really give a fuck about, because that school was a bunch of fucking assholes anyways. They were fucking all dicks. And, so, they were trying to figure out who we were and stuff. So pretty much what it came down to in the end was, they didn't press any charges on the chicks. They never found out who I was. The fucking swimming pool was fucked up, and apparently had to cancel that year's swim team. The school didn't try to get the other school back because they were kind of like, you know, truce at this point. It's kind of way too much. And probably one of the most epic pranks I've ever pulled. I don't know, a red swimming pool? I don't know, that's pretty badass to me. But it was one of those cooler nights we had. Definitely something crazy that I would never do at this day. And honestly, I have to say, looking back on my younger years, I don't understand how I never went to jail. Blows my mind, honestly. I was having a conversation with my buddy the other day, like, how did we never go to prison? He's like, I have no fucking clue. He's like, I guess we're just lucky. I was like, either dumb or lucky. I don't know. It's dumb luck, probably. But yeah, if you guys want to hear more of these fucked up Friday stories, fucking leave a comment. Tell me you like them. Say you want more fucked up Fridays. Alright guys, I'll talk to you later. Peace.